please, please, please feel free to email us and let us know if you have anything you want to ask or just need some advising. We're happy to help out. So really, why are you guys all here tonight? It's to find out why should you spend your away rotation and come here to Maimonides Medical Center, right? Well, for starters, no better place than to spend 4 weeks in New York City, right? So some of you may be from here, some of you may be from other places. New York City is pretty awesome. I may be biased because I'm from here. We're actually in the heart of Brooklyn. We're like Southwest Brooklyn. We're about 10-minute train ride from the city. Some of our residents live in the city. A lot of us live in Brooklyn. A lot of us are from Brooklyn, or some of us have come here and really grown to love Brooklyn. Spending your summer months in New York City is an amazing place to have your EM clerkship, right? New York City is known for all of the amazing food we have, whether it's just getting food at a local store or getting some Indian food from a halal cart by Maimonides Medical Center, or going to some 5-star restaurants you've been dying to go, or get some amazing omakase. I'm sorry, I love omakase, and there's nothing better than here. I promise you. Well, maybe Hawaii. Hawaii has poke. The poke is better. But really, whether it just be going to Brooklyn's Pizza, there's like a famous place, DeFaro's. His pizza is amazing, and it's a little hole-in-the-wall place in Brooklyn. It's a great place to come. Get to know what it's like to actually be here if you end up a resident here. Brooklyn has amazing restaurants also. A lot of us hang out in Brooklyn, live in Brooklyn, and you're really not going to know until you come to do a rotation here and spend 4 weeks here. So a little bit about where Maimonides Medical Center is. Like, where is that? Well, we're in the heart of Borough Park. It's actually Southwest Brooklyn. So it's actually the home of like the Hasidic and Orthodox Jewish community. About 2 blocks up 8th Avenue is actually a Chinese community. It used to be Norwegian, actually. They're still the minority. They're still Norwegian there. And also you'll find some Arabic speaking population. And also we're surrounded kind of by like Sunset Park, which is like a heavy Hispanic community, Indian community, and also Arabic speaking community. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because emergency medicine is all about pathology, diversity, right? You guys hear this. What are you going to say in the future about what you want from emergency medicine? But it actually is really, really important in order to become a competent physician. We have all of these different cultural backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds. We are so diverse at Maimonides Medical Center that we have like 67 interpreter systems, okay? We have interpreters in the hospital. We have, interpreter systems where it's actually really easy. We all have it on our phones because that's how much we need it. And why do I bring this up? Because, well, one, every different background comes with different pathology, right? Some people come in also, just because they have high blood pressure and it's really concerning to them and they need you to ease, their worries. Some people wait till it's the last minute, and you learn from those cultural backgrounds that actually exists within the culture. And when they come in, they really need you. What else is important? To actually learn how to deal with those boundaries. How am I going to get a good history and physical and figure out what's going on with a patient within all these language barriers? How am I going to figure out what's going on? And to actually add that to learning about emergency medicine makes you a better physician. So being somewhere that's extremely diverse with different pathologies is going to make you a better physician at the end of the day. So that brings me to a little bit about our emergency room. So this is actually what we call the dirty south. So this is our less acute side. If you look up on the internet, busy emergency room, Maimonides ER, these pictures are what actually comes up. Not if you type in Maimonides, just busy ER. This is actually, we're just like stacked in twos. We have definitely been busier than this, a lot busier. During COVID, we were really busy as well, but pre-COVID, we were extremely busy. And if you actually look, you see there's different, people of different backgrounds, different ages. It just gives you an idea of like how many patients we have, how diverse it is. We're associated with nursing homes. We have some really old, sick people also. And something to bring up is actually that the average age of a patient here at Maimonides is actually 10 years older than many other ERs. And what does that mean for us? That actually means that our patients are really sick. They have multiple comorbidities, and that's an extra challenge for you. And when you're learning and how to become a competent ER physician, is like, how do I deal with that? How do I deal with a person who, may be septic and is actually somebody who has severe, like really bad CHF and fluid overload? And these are things that are going to make you a better physician, learning how to deal with patients with multiple comorbidities. How are you going to know that? You're only going to know that if you come and do a rotation, right? Yes, New York City is full. Most of the ERs have a lot of pathology and diversity, but I want to tell you one thing, like those communities that are surrounding us here at Maimonides, it does not exist when you're like in the middle of, Manhattan. It is very, very different. And I actually was a medical student here. I was a resident here. I did my fellowship here. I can tell you it's something that really kept me here because I enjoyed dealing with all these like multiple comorbidities and patient pathology and diversity. This is just a picture of our north side, which is our more acute side. Unfortunately, there's no picture of the recess bay. I didn't have one. But to your right in this picture is actually a recess bay, which is where the second years it's their domain, but it's where all of the resuscitations come. All of your, oh my God, it's gonna keep beeping, sorry. Like all of your STEMIs, your stroke codes, your trauma codes. What's really important about that, what about Maimonides, is that we're actually a level 1 trauma center. We're also a level 2 pediatric trauma center, one of the only ones in Brooklyn. So that just adds to what you actually get to see. And if you come here to rotate, you'll have the opportunity to see all of that and be part of the team. So here's just actually a picture of Dr. Arlene Chung, who's our program director, and her first incoming class, who are our rising seniors right now. And the reason I put this up here is to give an idea of kind of like the people. And why do I bring this up? You really need to figure out, God, I'm so sorry. This is my SCM. This is our EMR system, guys. It's beeping to tell me that it's going off. I'm really sorry about that. So the reason I put this up is to show you the kind of like support system we have, the family that we are. And I say that because when you come to rotate somewhere, what's really important is figuring out if it's the right fit for you. That's why you're going to rotate there. One, to see if you're going to be a competent physician, if they're going to have the pathology and diversity you need, and to see if you fit in with the people, the attendings, the residents. This is what you need to know. You need to know if this is the right extended family for you. And that's really, really important. You're only going to know that if you come. So pre-COVID era, just to give you an idea of like what kind of family support system we are, and hopefully if you come to rotate, you get the opportunity, people being vaccinated and everything kind of being outside, have an opportunity to get to know our residents and faculty. This is everybody actually at our chairman's house doing journal club, where we kind of eat and drink, and medical students can come and we go over like evidence-based literature. And as you can see, we're obviously, having a good time. This is a bunch of our female attendings, residents, and we're just getting together at Fix EM. A bunch of people are actually like in charge of Fix EM. Our residents hanging out, our chiefs introducing our interns during the year. More pictures of our residents and attendings together at conferences. So our ultrasound faculty during COVID actually doing a graduation outside to make sure that we still have the opportunity to spend time together, to also show you how big it is. That's not even all of the faculty. Our nurses and residents working event medicine together. We actually have a big event medicine program here where our second and third year residents actually go to like work Burning Man, go to work at Madison Square Garden. These are a bunch of our residents a couple of years ago. We do a retreat every year and they all decided they wanted to dress up. And what's important is even during the COVID time, right, to see that we're still a family unit, we're still having fun at work. And as you can see on the right-hand corner, we're still smiling under those masks and you can actually tell. So just an idea of like who we are. And the only way you're really gonna get to know that is if you come here to rotate. The other things I wanted to talk about, so I'm talking about our ER clerkship, our core clerkship, but we also have some subspecialty rotations, which is really important to know, is that it's not counted as your away rotation, right? That one away that you're allowed to do if you have a home base. So we have an ultrasound rotation, You get to rotate with our ultrasound faculty. We have like 13, maybe 14 ultrasound faculty. You get to do tape review with them every Monday. We go through all of the ultrasounds that have been done within the last week. You get teaching. They have a curriculum with it. You get to do scan shifts in the emergency room with an attending, an ultrasound faculty and fellow. We do transesophageal echo. We do nerve blocks. It's a great, great opportunity to get your hands dirty. We have a pediatric emergency medicine rotation, subspecialty rotation. All of our pediatric people are PEM board certified. They're amazing educators. I loved it when I was a resident. I still love it, and I miss being there, to be honest with you. They're some of the best educators. And like I said, we're level 2 pediatric trauma center, so it's a great place to come rotate. Lastly, usually the month of November, we have an EMS rotation. You get to ride on ACLS, BLS, transport ambulances, and get an opportunity to see what pre-hospital medicine is all about and maybe get involved in event medicine. It's run by Dr. LaBelle and Dr. Friedman. All of the email addresses are actually on our site. So a little bit about our actual core clerkship, right? Like what does it entail? It's 4 weeks. There's 12 shifts. It's a mix of our Dirty South, our North Side, our triage, fast track, and pediatric emergency medicine. So a little bit of everything you get to dabble in. You get didactics every Tuesday, along with a simulation. We have a great sim center. It's one of the best, honestly. We even have a sim fellowship. So you have sim fellows teaching you, you have sim faculty, you have us. From the past, that is like one of the medical students' favorite things, and I think a lot of our residents as well. You get a procedural lab that's run actually by the third-year resident, an introduction to ultrasound course in the very beginning of the rotation before you start your shifts. You're part of the EM residency conference every Wednesday. We do kind of like a flipped classroom. That's kind of like small little groups, either mixed classes or single class, and it's led by an attending, and you guys have a discussion about the topics. There's also a mentorship program led by our own residents, and if you want a faculty and attending mentor, that's another thing that we can obviously have for you as well. Formal mid-rotation feedback meeting, which is a great opportunity for you to kind of like check in, see where you are, see if there's anything you need to improve on. It's actually a really nice thing that we've added on recently. You have the opportunity, if you like, to do additional things like take part in ultrasound tape review or do an EMS ride along. And lastly, you get an exit interview. So that's just the gist of what your core clerkship would be like. If you want to know more about it, it's all on our MaimonidesEM.org website. There's also a link to all of the webinars we had last season during COVID. Our residents led a wonderful webinar last year. Really tons of people came to it, and I really think it got our name out there. There's one actually by our chief resident right now, Dr. Duncan Grossman, who actually talks about like how to be a rock star rotator. I think it's a great one to go over. He just kind of talks about like, what are we looking for on a clerk, when you're rotating in your clerkship? What is it we're looking for? So I think that's a great one to look at if you wanted to know about what it was like during COVID for them. Actually, that was one that they did, and there was no video. But our residents will talk to you about anything that you actually want to know. They're very open, very honest. So please, if you come rotate or you just want to email them, I'm sure they'll be happy to give you the answers that you like. So this brings me to, now that you know about our program, how are you going to apply to it if you want to come? So VSLO, right? You're going to apply through the Visiting Student Learning Opportunities. The QR code on your left is VSLO. So this goes for anybody who actually needs to do their one away rotation, right? As per the COPA guidelines and the consensus statement that came out, you guys are all allowed to do one away rotation. So you would be applying through VSLO on April 15th. You'd have everything teed up, and you would apply for the months of August 1st and September 1st. COPA is supposed to be going over it again, and hopefully they will add additional months to that, and we will hopefully have additional months for you to come and rotate. If you are one of the students from an orphan medical school, or you are from a program that does not have a home EM residency program, then that timeline does not actually apply to you, and you are allowed to do more than one away rotation. So then you could apply through the non-VSLO applications, which is the QR code on the right. It's actually our Maimonides main hospital website. It's a different website. If your hospital has an affiliation with us already, then it's easier for you. But if not, you can actually create an affiliation through our website. So that will apply. Let's say you're only allowed to rotate COPA doesn't change their guidelines, it's only August, September, you're still allowed to rotate all of the other months at Maimonides Medical Center, okay? Just so you know, that's the playing field for you guys. Another thing I wanted to bring up is that we are lucky enough to have a URM grant this year. It will be a stipend towards coming to rotate with us. If you need money for travel, living, food, whatever it may be, you can use your stipend towards it. The application will be for the people who are applying through VSLO. There will be an application through there. If you're applying through the Maimonides website, we will send you the application. It'll just basically be like your CV, why you want to come to Maimonides, and why you think you should be considered for this grant. So we look forward to seeing your applications this season and having some of you rotate with us. We look forward to getting to know you, and I'm sure all of our residents look forward to getting to know you as well. If you guys have any questions, you can ask now, or you just email us anytime you like.
More generally, how do you think a student can stand out when they apply through BSAS? And then specifically, is there anything that you're looking for in an applicant and for things they should be including in their application?
Well, first off, we're looking for someone who wants to come and rotate here, somebody who wants to come to New York City, right? We're always talking about like geographic ties, right? If you have a specific reason that you really want to come here, let us know, whether that be through VSLO or through email. You can email me and Dr. Lee. If you knew somebody, you heard about the program from somewhere, you're really looking to come home, your family is over here, or you've always wanted to live in New York City, that's something that really kind of, is an important thing to let us clerkship directors know. What else are we looking for? So we don't have a step cutoff. We are looking for you to have step 1. Other than that, we really are just, looking for people who really want to come rotate here.
And then another question, and I believe the answer is yes, but we take any applicants regardless of their medical school, whether it be IMGs or et cetera.
So we can have applications come through. International is a little bit difficult right now. Otherwise, it's pretty much fair game. That's a good question. How many of the current residents did a rotation here first? I always lose count. How many of the intern class?
We may not have the exact number right now, but it's going to be around a third.
Yeah. I think Victor wrote over here 4 to 6. It's somewhere in between there. I think it's it's a really important thing when you come to actually rotate somewhere, right? One, if you really want to be here, it's an opportunity for you to show that you fit in, to see if you fit in. We really take into consideration what our residents, think of working with our medical students, because they're going to be part of their family. So really it's about coming and trying to become part of the family a little bit, right? We want to make sure that this is the right place for you.
And then sort of the burning question, how does getting a SLO work? What goes into it?
I also see how many applicants do we take per month. The answer is 12. When you ask what goes into a SLO, do you mean the questions? When you rotate with us, you automatically get a SLO. You just ask us for the SLO, you give us the AAMCID, and you get a SLO at the end of the rotation. Is that what you're asking, or do you want to know what the content?
I believe that's what it was asking. And then who is evaluating them? Is it residents? Is it attendings? And then if you rotate here, will you have rotations with program leadership?
So you get 12 shifts. It's very likely that out of the 4 assistant program directors and the program director and Dr. Lee and I, you will have a shift with one of us, probably more than one of us. So we always say that you should get 2 evaluations for every shift if you worked with an attending and a resident. So it should be an upper resident, 2nd or 3rd year, and an attending. So you get evaluated by your residents and your attendings. And, everybody's actually really good at doing the evaluations. I'm so proud of our residents and our faculty. It's been actually a really great experience.
And maybe, like, say they apply next week, when should they know whether or not they have a slot at Maimonides for August and September?
So that is going to be dependent on how many applications we actually get. And that's going to differ for every program, right? Like I don't have a hard, a hard date for you, honestly. It really is going to depend on how many applications we have to go through. And really the answer for like everybody in every program is it could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks from when you send your application. And that's just because one, everybody has different criteria that they look through, and two, how many applications are we actually going to get?
I think our like call them like extracurricular rotations that won't result in the slow, like the ultrasound EMS, I believe they are separate applications, correct?
So I believe that for the months that we're talking, it still applies. There will still be applications for the ultrasound rotation through VSAS or slash VSLO. The person to contact is going to be Amy Sangvi. It is on our MaimonidesEM.org website. If you are from a school that is not affiliated, the same thing will apply. If you're from an orphan medical school, you can apply also outside of VSAS. So we usually have anywhere from 1 to 2 students rotating on the ultrasound faculty. I'm sorry, on the ultrasound rotation. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2. It really depends on the month. EMS is going to be through Dr. LaBelle, so I would just email through the web on the website. His email address is right there. And PEM will be through the same thing. PEM is actually run by us, so it will actually be through VSLO or outside of VSLO, depending on where you're coming from.
Can students that are from orphan medical schools apply outside of the 2-month block? For instance, would they be able to rotate in July?
Based on availability, you would be able to apply. You are not in that timeline. So if you're from an orphan medical school or you do not have a home EM rotation, EM residency program where you can rotate, you do not fit into the timeline. You can go outside. You're an exception. You can come out of the timeline.
At what date do you expect Maimonides to come up on VSLO?
It should be April 15th.
Okay.
I am hoping.
Magic April 15th. Do you require a letter of recommendation for your VSAS application?
We have not. No. EMRA Match is a great place to look to see what's like actually required for certain programs, like STEP or STEP cutoffs. We do look for a STEP score. We do require a STEP score to actually do the rotation. If you have it somewhere in between, and you get your STEP score, you can actually send it to us after, especially if you're applying for a later month.
And then say the school's schedule doesn't line up with the blocks that MIMO offers, do you have to rotate within those designated blocks?
Unfortunately, the answer is
okay. Is there a shelf exam?
There is an end of rotation exam that is a portion of your grade. It's really just basic emergency medicine, right? All the stuff from the CDM curriculum that you guys want to do for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Is the application rolling? The application cycle's rolling. It's just until the slots are filled, correct?
You mean that
for people applying at April 15th? It's applications are rolling.
It's not going to just close. They're going to let all the applications come through, and then we're going to review the applications.
Should they be preparing a personal statement for us?
So we do not ask for a personal statement. We may be asking, why would you like to come to Maimonides?
And then for someone that hasn't taken step 1 of applying, but will have it done by the time they start the rotation, will they be accepted?
So in the past, we have requested that you have your step 1 prior to the rotation. Not step 2, but step 1.
They're curious about the grading breakdown, if there's designated like quintiles or quartiles for how students are placed.
So there's always, it's, it's your slow, it's the usual grading system of we are not fail, we are actually honors, high pass, pass. So it's not
And
pass.
then I think I'm going to put this one down here. And in the interest of my lovely college speaking, I think we'll transition to the panel unless there's any burning
And feel free
questions
to,
right now. Yeah, we're all open.
please. And they're all great questions. And I'm sure you'll think of more, and I'm happy to answer them. I'm just going to say thank you so much before I'm not talking anymore. Thank you so much all for coming and for your interest in Maimonides. I truly mean it. Like, I love my rotation here. There's a reason I'm still here. And I really think that it has a lot to offer. And I really, truly love the people and how much I learned from them. And I hope we can do the same for you.
Hi everybody, I'm Sarah. I rotated at MIMO in like July, so it was really, really early. I'm from Albany Med by way of Sophie Davis. That's pretty much it about me.
Matt?
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm a PGY1. I went to Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, and I actually was going to go into radiology and made a quick last-minute decision to switch into emergency medicine. So the rotation for me at MIMO was like pretty last minute, but best decision I've ever made. And you'll hear all about it. But yeah, it was great.
Oh, Bilal, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, hi. I'm Bilal. I'm from NICOM, and I rotated at MIMO. I did my sub-I there in June, and then I did an ultrasound rotation there in July, and then I did an EMS rotation there in sometime shortly after that. So.
Danny?
Hey guys, I'm Danny. I'm one of the PGY2s. I also did my rotation here in August. I'm from Nova Southeastern in Florida, but I'm originally from Brooklyn. And yeah, we'll hear all about our wonderful rotation now.
And then, of course, I can't forget, we have Aisha Lee, fresh off of the North Side shift, tuning in. Where are you, Aisha?
Hey guys, I'm Aisha, also rotated here from Sophie Davis. Yeah, just got off of shift, so ignore my deck bill.
So I think we'll just go around and whoever wants to perk up first, but like, what was it about MIMO like that wanted you to make you come here?
I'll go. So I actually met Arlene and Sally at New York City ASAP. And then I actually thought I applied on VSLO, and then I was just like, oh, I'm not getting any response. That's really sad. Why doesn't MIMO want me to like rotate with them? And then I went to SAM, and then I saw Arlene again, and then I was just like, hey, I remember you. And then I spoke to her and I told her that I applied, and then apparently they just like never got my application. And so she told me to email her directly and they would like set it up, and then I did, and then I magically ended up having like a spot in July to go, and it just ended up working out really well. Then when I went to do my rotation, it was literally like the busiest EM rotation. I did 3 rotations that year. I just had a lot of time. And then that was literally like the busiest I was ever. And I felt like I was an actual like intern when I was there. It felt really cool. Like they gave me a lot of autonomy as a student. I ended up like trying to do like a chest, like a pigtail when I was there. They let me do like a central line when I was there. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I literally don't know how to do any of this, but they let me try over and over and over again. And to the point where like, I don't know if like anyone's done like a surgery rotation, but I feel like when you try to do something and you mess up once as a student, they're like, okay, get out of the way. That's all the time that you get. But when I was at MIMO, I felt like they made me try over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, I feel uncomfortable now. Are you sure you want me to continue trying this? But they're very, very good at like trying to get you to learn things. And I loved that here. And so I literally fell in love with the attendings that I was working with. And then the residents were just amazing. I ended up going out with them to recess rounds. I ended up like clicking with them like really, really well. I literally felt like an intern when I was a student. And so I was just like, okay, this is definitely the place that I want to be. And then I just ended up falling in love with it. That's it.
I can piggyback off of that a little bit actually. So yeah, a lot of the stuff was touched on that you're gonna experience the entire spectrum of pathology there. It's a very unique location, unique patient population in Limo. But there's another aspect of it is that you're given a certain amount of independence there. So yes, I did in a sense feel like an intern there. And they were very teaching heavy, which was something that I didn't experience on a lot of other rotations. And so that's why I came back and kept on rotating there, because I kept on feeling like I was learning more and more. So I felt like that was probably the biggest selling point for me.
Yeah, I could piggyback off of them. For me, so I did this rotation 2 years ago. I think I did also 4 rotations when I was a medical student. Coming from a DO program, I kind of wanted to, broaden out and see different places. And I did, rotations in Florida, rotations in New York, and MIMO just instantly, like the second week that I was here, was like, this is different. Something about this place is really special, and I think I'll belong here. And I think the clerkship directors, both Jeanette and Eric, they do an amazing job getting like a nice group of people that everyone kind of blends together for some reason, and then everyone's like best friends. So like the people I met on this rotation, just from the students, were like we were best friends throughout the whole year. And then the residents, they would keep reaching out to you even after you rotated there, and they were just genuinely interested in helping you, which you don't get at every place. So I think the people at MIMO are very, very special, and for me, that was the biggest reason I wanted to come here. And I think you guys will experience that if you come here.
Yeah, and something that I loved about it actually, like the people, and it was obviously like so teaching heavy. They were all amazing, but there's like something interesting. There's like the team triage aspect of it, where like that's not even a shift that we do, like as interns or like even second years. I'm not sure if the third years might maybe do it, but like you're seeing a massive amount of patients so quickly in that time. It's like all the people coming in from the ambulance triage. You're expected to like act as essentially an attending doctor in that instance. It's just a crazy experience, and it's something I didn't really get in my other rotations. It was very unique to come to MIMO and be doing things like that.
Yeah, one other nice thing that I wanted to touch on is that not all of your shifts will be with residents. So there'll be shifts that you get assigned to that it's just you and attending, and that's a really great opportunity, to bond with that attending, to get to know them. And then the days that you do have a resident, you can really bond with the resident. So you'll get to meet a lot of the people by rotating here, just because of the way that the shifts are scheduled. I'll also touch very briefly on the mentorship program that Jeanette talked about. So that was actually one of mine and my co-resident's baby project. We started that when we were PGY1s. Bilal was actually my mentor, my mentee when he was a student, and thank God he ended up matching at MIMO. But I think it's a really rewarding experience for us as residents. All the residents really love doing it, and for you guys. So the point of this program is that you'll be assigned to a mentor when you come. That person will be there for you throughout the whole year. Whether you have questions, should I come to MIMO, or is it something about, should I go to this other place? The point of the mentorship program is to, one, get you through the rotation and help you excel in the rotation, so that our goal is for you to meet with your mentor beforehand so that they could show you around the emergency room, so that on your first shift, you feel comfortable. They can talk to you about the things, where everything is located. It's just someone you have to turn to the whole rotation. But then after that, we want you to keep your mentors and use them throughout the interview process, because it is a very stressful process. It's very exciting, but there's so much going on, and you just might need someone if you don't have a good mentor at your own medical school, which I didn't. It's really helpful to have this person that's a resident that recently graduated. So you'll most likely be paired with like a PGY1 at that time, and then you'll be able to, ask them any other questions you have throughout the interview season.
Okay. So I can definitely attest the pathology, the culture, the diversity that you see at MIMO. I don't think I'd be able to find it anywhere else. I'm curious if you'd like to speak to a particularly interesting case that you've had at Maimonides and why it really makes us shine.
When I was a student, I feel like I saw like all the things that you like read about in a textbook, like you just like never see in med school. I remember I had one patient that I saw, and then she was like this like little old like Asian lady, and she looked really, really pale. And then I remember we got like a VBG, and they were like, oh, this person's hematocrit is 10. And we were like, oh, you mean like the hemoglobin? And they were like, no, we meant the hematocrit. And her actual hemoglobin was like 2. And I've legitimately never seen that. Like, I've never seen that before, obviously. And the attending was like, oh, yeah, that happens sometimes. I'm just like, wait, what? Like, this is a common thing. And so we obviously like we got her like blood and stuff, but it was like really interesting because I was like, clearly like as a student never saw that. And then I remember like having like a bunch of people with DKA come in, and my attending told me to go smell them. So like you could, this was before masks, and then you had to like smell them because they smelled like acetone and stuff. And then we had like SVT. It was actually like a shift now, like in retrospect, with like Sabrina Sokolovsky, which is like one of our attendings who notoriously has like all the things. You see everything when you're with her. And we literally had like a DKA patient. We had a patient in SVT. We had like a like new onset AFib patient, like literally like all in the same shift. And I was like a student, like literally like mind blown. So it was really cool. I feel like I saw so much in that month and learned a lot in that month. Oh, yes. And then, well, this wasn't during my rotation. Jeanette just messaged me, but I did have a patient intern year that was like really, really sick, ended up being one of my M&Ms. And he was like in adrenal crisis, like a really young guy that was on the train on the way from work and just completely froze and couldn't move on the train. He ended up coming to MIMO and having a potassium of like 8, which is really, really high, and was completely talking to me normal, went to get CT scan, and then ended up coding. And so then he went to resus, and like they resuscitated him. And like 10 days later, he walked out of the hospital, like really weird because he literally died on the CT table. But then ended up having like no adrenal glands, which was super, super random and weird. And I'm in the process of writing a case report on it. So you see a lot of random, really, really cool stuff at MIMO.
I'm actually sure that I will never see that ever again. Like I had no past medical history.
Yeah.
Completely fine and triaged.
Still haunts me to this day.
When I was a student here, I had a really awesome case. Like this touches a little on what Sarah was saying, how they really want you to get your hands wet and dirty when you're here. I had a patient, I was working on the north side, so that's our critical side. And the resus resident, who was the second year resident, had a really sick patient that they were concerned for maybe aortic dissection. So they were taking the patient to CAT scan, but the patient was so unstable that we decided to go to the CAT scan with them. And we're mid CAT scan, and the patient codes on the table. And somehow at MIMO, the ultrasound machine, because it's everywhere, pops up, and the resident quickly puts the probe up, and there's a large pericardial effusion. And so she's like, here's the needle, go ahead and do the pericardiocentesis. So she let me try. I didn't get it, but then she got it instantly, and the patient got RAS, which was really cool. So, and these kind of things will happen to you your entire resus year. I'm right now finishing my resus year, and you'll see this consistently throughout the whole year. I think that's another really special part about this program is this resus year. It's important when you guys go out to different programs, you figure out how they split their critical care time. Here, we're very fortunate that our second years are very heavy critical care time, and we get to manage all of those patients in our second year and then in our third year. But the first years, they see a bunch of crazy pathology too, because our hospital is just crazy busy.
And you can only imagine we've seen some crazy things, and last year and our residents have seen more than probably us as attendings. So we were very, very busy during COVID. I'll tell you one thing, I do remember as a medical student, even though it seems like it was yesterday, it was not yesterday. I was working with Dr. Schiller, who still works at Maimonides Medical Center. And we had a patient from like an adult home who was basically nonverbal at baseline, choking. Guy was choking on a carrot. And Dr. Schiller let me bronch the patient as a medical student and take the bits of the carrot out. And my personal statement began with getting the carrot. So see, there are things you're always going to remember. And I promise you'll see some crazy things there. I saw somebody in triage. The kid he was like a very young kid. He was like 27 years old, presented with like palpitations going on for who knows how long. One of our ultrasound faculty threw an ultrasound on, saw a flap, and patient was diagnosed with aortic dissection. sent to the OR and living today. So you really, really have the ability to see a ton of different things here.
We'll like change gears and go to more of like a logistics question. Generally, like how in the rotation, like how is finding housing for those people that aren't from New York? How much, where would you recommend living? And in terms of being a resident, what's it like being in a New York City, living in an apartment on a resident salary?
I don't know about any, like I had family in Brooklyn. So I ended up staying with like a family member that lived in Fort Greene, which was like a short train ride away. But I think majority of students, like now you have Airbnb, so it's not that bad to kind of like look on Airbnb and find a place to stay for the month. There's a lot of like websites where there's like rotatingrooms.com, I think, which is for med students specifically who are rotating at different areas in the US. There's like a lot of different websites for finding housing as a rotating student. And you can definitely find cheaper spots on websites like that. Or like if you have like a website on like a class website, I feel like a lot of the times, like if you have like a Facebook page, you can just ask like, does anybody know anybody who's in Brooklyn that has a room for the month or what have you. But there's a lot of places in Brooklyn to live. I don't know what anybody else did when they were here. I had family, so it was different.
I was just going to literally say I just stayed with my friends who happen to live here, who I now live with permanently. So it's not also great. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's pretty easy like Airbnb, and things are cheaper, I think, in COVID times. So it could be a little nicer for you guys too.
I was gonna say I would recommend living in Brooklyn for your rotations, but that being said, I did like 4 rotations in Brooklyn, and for each of them I lived somewhere different. For 2 of them I lived in Brooklyn, for 1 I lived in Harlem, and the other one I commuted from Long Island. So like it is doable by train, by car, by bike, whatever you prefer.
And then in terms of the question that Nick asked, like as residents, so we do get a very decent salary. If you look at our salary compared to other New York programs, it's a lot higher, I think, from the programs when I was looking. So I think what we make is definitely enough to at least live in in one of the neighborhoods that are near us. Most of my classmates live in Park Slope, which is generally a little more expensive area, but they're still able to like afford it. I live in Greenwood, which is a little closer to the hospital, also very affordable. And then again, you can get roommates. We have a lot of residency programs within the hospital, so it's really not difficult finding a roommate when if you do match and end up coming here. But it's very affordable with our salary.
I see a question in the chat. As medical students, do you pay for rotations? We don't charge students to rotate. That's messed up. That's my opinion.
You only have to pay for your VSATs thingy, I think, but that doesn't count.
So we had a question of like, what's the patient population like? I think we touched on it a lot, but I don't know if anyone like dive into like when you're looking at our I almost call it a sea of beds, and it's the Hasidic family next to the Chinese family next to the Uzbek person, and all of them are speaking different language. Like, how do you navigate that? And like, what about that maybe when you rotated here influenced you coming here?
I mean, it's crazy. Like you literally look at every single bed and it's like the most different person you've ever seen from the next bed over. So for me, that was what made it so interesting and like so fun to work here. Like every single patient, you never knew what they were going to say, like what kind of culture they came from. I've learned so much about all these different cultures at this point, and I know more Mandarin now than I ever have before, just because of how much I have to speak with them. But not only is it like different cultures, but for me, I just remember like what turned me on so much of the program as a student rotating here too is I think I saw like a 98-year-old patient followed by like a 101-year-old patient followed by a 105-year-old patient. And these are like people that I just didn't know existed anymore. And like, it's the kind of program where you like see so much of that. But seriously, like at my hospital, the oldest person I saw was like probably 85. Like that would be young here.
Yeah, I agree with Matt. That's really funny though, by the way, Matt. But I feel like when I was here as a student and I saw like the amount of different languages that everybody spoke, I saw that as an additional challenge for me in residency. I saw that as kind of like, okay, well, this is another barrier. And if you can kind of like navigate taking care of someone and you don't speak their native language, then when I leave Maimonides and I go somewhere and everybody speaks English, it's like, wow, like this is so easy. I can get all the information I need from you. This is great. And it still kind of feels like that when you see, like when you have a shift and like you see, for example, like 10 patients and 8 of them don't speak English, the other 2, you're like, wow, this is kind of nice. Like you can tell me everything you want. So it's definitely another challenge, but I like having that challenge. We definitely have like translation on our phones now, so it's a lot easier. We have the video translation, which is also really nice. I had a patient the other day in peds, and the parents they only spoke sign language, so the video translation was like really nice to have, but it's definitely something that you don't see often, and it was like really nice to experience.
What do you remember about being on the rotation, and did you feel like you were always at the hospital? Did you have free time to like find out if you actually wanted to live in New York?
As somebody who did 3 away rotations all in New York, I think this one was the one I had the most fun in. Every Tuesday, the residents get together and they hang out. And like when I was there, like we set up like going to see a Broadway show and having like a bunch of dinners. And some people went to sporting events. Barclays is right here too. So yeah.
I mean, I thought I had the most free time, yeah, during my sub-I at Maimo, because there weren't a lot of 12s, I guess, unless you were on North Side. So I didn't feel like I was always constantly at the hospital, but I felt like I still learned a lot when I was there.
There's a question in the chat. What tracks does Maimo offer?
I think the residents probably know about this. We have an ultrasound track, right? We have a med ed track, sorry. I'm not sure. I think right now, med ed, ultrasound, you basically get a mentor and basically kind of like an aligned curriculum to kind of guide you in the right direction. There's lectures. They meet with you every so often. I think they meet like once a month. Right now, everything's kind of going over Zoom. If you need like a research project, they put you on one. If you need a case report, there's also, I think the ultrasound team is also doing like lectures with them. It's actually a really great thing that a couple of our faculty members have put together recently.
Yeah, the tracks are more are something that's new to us, and we're still building them. So there's many coming down in the pipeline. Usually you see those kind of tracks like in 4-year programs where they have that extra year to kind of like specialize in what they want. But our PD, she wants to be on top of everything, so she is creating those tracks. And you kind of, like Jeanette was saying, if you meet the criteria and you graduate with a certificate in ultrasound or med ed, which can definitely help you for fellowship or just getting jobs later in the future as well.
You don't have to be interested in just going into a fellowship. I mean, it will help you get into a fellowship or learn more about it, or to see if you'll actually want to apply to a fellowship, or it just may make you a more competent physician so you can consider something else that you're interested in. Like, especially Maimonides, I think our residents come out really proficient in ultrasound. And if you're not looking to be like an ultrasound director or teaching, resident ultrasound education, then perhaps there's something else that you may be interested in doing, and you'll come out extremely proficient and be part of that track and have the opportunity to do something else.
I see a question about, I guess, how many graduating residents do a fellowship. I would say traditionally in prior years, it was about half-half. In the most recent few years, majority, I would say closer to 2/3 have pursued fellowships, and they've gone on to every whatever fellowship you can think of, like EMS, crit care, and at some like really excellent places. And the other half, have gone on to get jobs in pretty competitive job markets. And we're fortunate that, we've built up a really great, excellent network for jobs and also really like fellowships as well.
So I think this is a good place to wrap up. I'm going to drop my email in the chat. Feel free to shoot me any questions you have. I'm on a ultrasound rotation right now, so I have all of the free time, which is all what we're looking for. And then we'll call it a night. I'm so excited that all of you guys came on tonight to like hear us rabble on about why Mino is the best place in the world. And I hope we'll be seeing some of your faces when you rotate here come August or September.